So this morning I'm talking about you are the result of your thinking. 2,500 years ago, now just imagine in time, 2,500 years ago, Buddha said, you are the result of your thinking. Whatever you are now is because of your thoughts. 2,500 years ago. There's a lot to think about in that. Master M gave us a story about the experience of Saint Germain. He said that Saint Germain fell ill after fulfilling his mission because of the undisciplined thought of one of his co-workers. Guard against the harm of undisciplined thought. Think only in new ways. Consider as lost that day during which you did not contemplate the new world. MM states that the power of thought will be the evocative principle of the new world. To bring the new world into existence, we must become thinkers. So it's one thing to say this, it's another thing to apply it. To bring the new world into existence, we must become thinkers. So hopefully over the course of the 3 days of this conference, we will going to recognize who and what a thinker is and does, and who a thinker is and does that is not make them a thinker. A thinker is a person who discovers the law of nature. So here's a definition of a thinker. A thinker is a person who discovers the laws of nature and tries to actualize the purpose of these laws. A thinker tries to cooperate with the laws of nature, of life, and to make people aware of them, and encourages them to use these laws for their physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual development. So there's our guidance right there, to discover the laws of nature. So there's a challenge for us right there. From the teaching, discover the laws of nature. So there is an application that we can begin to practice, put into practice by discovering what these laws are. And then to use them, not just physically, but emotionally, mentally, and spiritually, as well. So as thinkers, we're going to strive to know what the supreme thinker thinks. In being this kind of thinker, we will gradually become a vehicle of the cosmic mind. So look how the teaching is taking us from, the microcosm to the macrocosm, to think about how we can be a thinker, to discover the laws of nature, how to apply these laws in our physical, emotional, mental life, but at the same time, to think what the supreme thinker thinks, and then to recognize that we are gradually going to become a vehicle of the cosmic mind. We're going to become an instrument, a vehicle of the cosmic mind, carrying the plan of the supreme thinker further. This is quite a responsibility. So to substantiate this claim, Master M says the new world will establish bold learning and cognition in which the images of the master enters the daily life as friends. Thinkers know that nature operates under the direction of a higher mind. To bring in the new world, we need to develop the human mind and to discover all the real potential treasures in it. The human mind can be developed by higher thinking, fiery thinking, and service. So if you think, but I don't know what the higher mind is, I don't know what fiery thinking is, we know what service is. Meditation and contemplation are those steps toward developing fiery thinking. So you don't even have to define it, what fiery thinking is. Just practice meditation and contemplation, and that will help us unconsciously and yet naturally develop fiery thinking. Now, unconscious is not something that we want to be. So let me assure you, as we engage in meditation and contemplation, we become conscious thinking men and women. So it's not easy to find out what the laws of nature are, but we can understand these laws very simply as pro-survival. The laws of nature are the laws of pro-survival. Pro-survival is right thinking, right thought. That's pro-survival. When your thoughts are helping you to survive, they are pro-survival. Isn't that simple? It's so simple. If your thoughts are anti-survival, you are going to go backwards and you'll be cutting yourself off from the higher fiery worlds. Once you learn how to control all thoughts coming to you, and you use only, let's say, one channel, that's when you're going to be clairaudient. So we read about it and think about it and hear the stories of other people who are clairaudient, but now we can learn ourselves how to be clairaudient, which is to control all these thoughts that are coming to us. And believe me, before you're clairaudient, you want to control these thoughts coming to you. Not only do you feel the thoughts of other people when you're clairaudient, you feel the thoughts of other people, but your ear also translates the telepathic communication into words. Will translate telepathic communication into words. You hear them. Then you learn how to control all thoughts coming to you. And you use the only one channel now, the channel of pro-survival. Pro-survival. The first thing that is awakened through right thought and right thinking is clairaudience. Clairaudience. You feel people's emotions, what they are feeling and dreaming. The higher mind is the heart. I bet you that's something that you haven't thought about. When we think of the higher mind, normally people think of what? Thinking, right? Think of thinking. But, and because I'm giving a very short talk right now, usually I can go on. I'm not going to go into the whole process of thinking about how can the higher mind be the heart. Think about it. So there's a seed thought, to consider today. The higher mind and the heart are the same. Development of the mind is not the accumulation of knowledge. What? I mean, that can be such a surprising statement to intellectuals who pride themselves in their IQ, and their encyclopedic knowledge. Development of the mind is not the accumulation of knowledge and techniques. Development of the mind is moving upward toward higher levels of the mind, and that requires raising the focus of our consciousness. So this is the whole process of thought and the new world, of thought bringing in the new world, raising the focus of our consciousness. Now, the mind, we know, I was thinking of Lewis's talk that he gave yesterday and the diagram that he had on the screen in the 7 levels. The mind functions on 7 levels. We know that by now, 7 levels of expression. The lowest ones always starts at the bottom, 7, 6, 5, are not in operation in an educated society. 7, 6, and 5 are not in operation in an educated society, but the 4th level is. And I'm not going to go through these levels because I don't have time, and Lewis already did such a good job. So yesterday, you can get that YouTube later and look at that diagram. The 4th level of the mind is the major field that is utilized to store knowledge and then to use it. But to bring in the new world, we must bring our consciousness more toward the 3rd and the 2nd and the 1st levels, which we call the higher self or the higher mind or the heart. The mind is not the mental body. So this, the mind is not the mental body, but the electricity that is circulating in it and then using the gears as it is directed. That's the mind, electricity circulating within the mental body. The use of one's mind is a process then of thinking. See the gears. The human soul uses this energy in a greater capacity and in an increasing efficiency. In increasing the efficiency of this energy, the soul climbs to the higher mental planes and then focuses himself, for example, on the 3rd, 2nd, and 1st levels of the higher mind. Now, consciousness. This is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9-word definition of consciousness. Consciousness is the light of our human soul. The greater the light, the greater the consciousness, right? So light is consciousness, the consciousness of our human soul. This light expands as our soul gathers more experience in service. Deeper insights into higher thought through the use of a certain kind of energy, mental energy. Mental energy. As we think in new ways, as we develop the mind, we are in fact fusing with something greater, really greater than ourselves, and that's the planetary and solar mind. This is how thought in the new world manifests. This is what Master M means in saying the power of thought will be the evocative principle of the new world. That's what it means. The magnet of thought brings in the most precious particles of psychic energy. Nicholas Roerich wrote, if every word and every letter of our name has its own significance, and if each step of our existence has its cause and effect. With what rapt attention ought we to regard every manifestation of the great creative process. In the book Supermundane, about the power of names and words, it says, Urasvati knows the magnetic power of names. Now think about your own name. Think about Helena Rourke. Why do they call her Urasvati? And if you read the notebooks of Helena Rourke, we have plethora of footnotes with the different spiritual names of the original members that became the founders of the Agni Yoga Society. The name. Urasvati knows the magnetic power of names. Every sound corresponds to a specific cosmic ray. This is right from the book Supermundane, and also is linked to powerful signs of astrological significance. You know that sometimes, this is again, I'm still quoting here, you know that sometimes we do not forbid the utterance of our names, while at other times we have advised you not to utter them, even in thought. This is because while sometimes the combinations of sounds do not generate powerful magnetic currents, at other times, a name sounds in space like the blow of a hammer. At such times, for the safeguarding of equilibrium, our name should not be uttered. But this is, listen to this, he says, this is the master speaking. But this is also true about personal names and even the names of places. So it's like the property here that we eventually were gifted to buy. We call it Isvara, I-Z-V-A-R-A. Some people spell it I-S-V-A-R-A. Don't spell it that way because it's very negative. On the internet, you learn about these things. But when we sound the word Isvara, there's a spatial magnetic quality and resonance to this name. Also our own names. In ancient times, names were of astrological origin. In many nations, several other names were usually given to a child, so that his astrological name would not be uttered. It is better not to utter such a name, even during auspicious moments, because it can act as a bolt of lightning. I was thinking how sometimes a mother whose little child is still in the womb has a dream. Sometimes the father and mother have the same dream of the name that they are to give to that child. Why would they be given a name rather than mom and dad getting out that book of 3,000 names, what you're going to call your child and who's the most popular, what's the most popular name today? Do you stop to think about your own name? How you think about your name, how you pronounce your name, how others, when they speak to you, pronounce your name. This is a valuable instruction for us when we consider the cause and effect of sound. The cause and effect of sound. Here's a story. A co-worker recently shared a story saying that there was a grandfather, their grandfather, whose wife of 50 years died. The grandfather went into a terrible depression. The sound of his wife was lost. His heart was broken. This event substantiates what the master indicated in saying that every sound corresponds to a specific cosmic ray. This statement helps us to understand that the power of sound is a connectedness or thread that we have with not only the master, but with one another. The statement was referencing in part the silver thread between people, the life thread, the Sutratma thread. Oh, I'm sorry, we have allergies here, and that allergy is being attended to right now. I'm so sorry. Okay, well, I feel better. Okay. The silver thread, the life thread of the husband, was connected to that of his wife. When she died, the sound of his wife was gone. See, the frequency disappeared. This is how, when a person is in a coma, that person can still hear the family speaking to him or her, the frequency of sound. So what happened to the grandfather? One day, his daughter gave birth to his first grandchild. The family brought the newborn to the grandfather, for the baby began to cry. The frequency of the baby's crying voice brought the grandfather out of his depression and back into life. The lost sound returned. Cause and effect is the law of karma. Cause and effect is action and reaction. It is sowing and reaping. When a person, a group, a nation, when humanity lives according to the laws of nature, by their thoughts and actions, they become the arbitrator of their destiny. Helena Rourke told her students, there are no effects without causes. Karma is creating its effects now throughout the world. At present, when the planet is completing its karma, the payback for such desires is greatly reflected upon humanity. Yet that which is accomplished by human spiritual striving embraces the planet. As we become thinkers, we learn that thinking is to create causes and to control the effects. Many people create causes, but they cannot control the effects. Take, for example, our atomic scientists. They created the atomic bomb, but they cannot control the effects that it is having on us. That is not thinking. Thinking is done in the sphere of harmlessness and co-measurement. Co-measurement means that you think about the past, present, and future, about people, about their interests, about their future. So everything is involved. You can arrange your thinking accordingly in a way that your thinking does not harm people, but causes instead evolution and transformation in people. This is thought and the new world. Ralph Waldo Emerson, who was a fan of Frederick Douglass, said, cause and effect are two sides of one fact. Cause and effect are two sides of one fact. Karma is creating its effects throughout the world. A conscious attitude toward world reconstruction can establish a basis for the new world. Reconstruction, a conscious attitude toward reconstruction. There is no effect without a cause. There is no child without a parent. Whatever we sow, we reap. This law applies not only to what we see around us, but it also applies to our thoughts and our words and our actions. Whatever we create, we are going to receive effects. If there is an effect, there must be a cause. If there is a cause, there will be an effect. An elder said, I used to go to the mountains and listen to my voice echoing back to me. Once when I was inside the Great Pyramid, I said, Om, and waited. A few minutes later, I heard Om echoing back to me in different keys. Karma in Sanskrit means action. It means activity. But even in Sanskrit, I found this to be a very interesting research point. Even in Sanskrit, there is no reference to cause and effect, because Sanskrit clairvoyantly and intuitively knows that there is no effect, but there is always a cause. Think about it. An effect in reality is a minor cause. A minor cause. The effect that is created becomes a cause for another effect. So in essence, everything is something. I have no idea, but oh, it's a okay. So in essence, everything is a cause. The dervishes refer to karma as the law of the mirror. The law of the mirror. Whatever a person's life is, that is what he is, because he's reflecting in his life what he really is. It's the law of the mirror. Most human thought is related and limited to the physical and mental and emotional planes. This is what causes. This is what creates cause and effect. We can rid ourselves of this by changing our consciousness. The Master M in the book Hierarchy says the consciousness that encompasses only the present without any thought of the future cannot adhere to evolution, because of the chain of centuries disappears for such a consciousness. Hence, when the consciousness expands, it encompasses the great leading chain of cause and effect. Thus, while evolution is being established, the manifestation of causes is so important. Hence, each bright tension and striving will give to the planet the affirmation of the new world. In cosmic existence, we must try to increase our light so that darkness decreases. Light is the divine presence in us. This light must shine out. If you go outside at night and look up at the sky, we will see billions of stars. They tell us that behind all planetary and stellar motion, behind all creation, there is a law. This universe is not in chaos. It is a beautiful, mathematically created universe. A person creates his or her own period of incarnation. A person creates his or her own period of incarnation according to velocity, speed, and charge that we put into our manifestation. Velocity, speed, and charge that we put into manifestation. For example, if the person has 500 thoughts that travel for 5 million years, now just think about your traveling thoughts for 5 million years. That person will incarnate for 5 million years. But if the person's thoughts are totally spiritual, listen to this. This is so beautiful. If you don't remember anything, remember this. If the person's thoughts are totally spiritual, they do not come back because those thoughts are not magnetized. They do not return to create a physical, emotional, and mental body because this person has become the cosmic self, life itself. In closing, the new world is coming, and it can be assimilated only by a new consciousness. Destructions and sacrilegious denial of great concepts are absolutely disgusting because they are engendered by chaos and ignorance. But as there are no effects without causes, let us look back and honestly, without prejudice, call to mind and investigate the historical records. Even if they were compiled by earthly minds, maybe an enlightened consciousness will be able to clarify them. The present trend of life has so widely deviated from the manifest of the cosmic magnet that truly all the forces of light are assembling now to assist humanity. Constructiveness is being intensified on all planes. Amidst disaster, we can possibly imagine any sort of security in those regions of the world which are subjected to reconstructing. This is what we're being told. Let us imagine, let us have the idea, which becomes a thought, which becomes a thought form in manifestation, the reconstruction of the planet, the reconstruction of the world, the reconstruction of the Ukraine, the reconstruction of the consciousness of the leaders in that part of the world. The array of spiritual forces will lead humanity out of its blind alley. The period of transmutation will bring higher energies to the world. On the path to the fiery world, let us apply all our forces for the new construction. And that's it. You are the result of your thinking. We are the result.